Good morning. My name is Jasmine Harvey, Student Engagement Specialist here at Mississippi Public Broadcasting. On behalf of the MPB Education Department, we would like to welcome you all to Workforce Wednesday. We would love to know who is joining us today, so please use the chat feature to let us know who you are and what organization you represent. You may also use the chat feature to ask any questions. Before I introduce our guest speaker and panelists, I want to give a quick overview of our workforce initiative. In 2018, MPB received a 2-year grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to create a workforce development initiative. Our initiative, Getting to Work Mississippi, focuses on advancing education and career readiness. We work with partners to assess challenges and opportunities and produce videos focused on career pathways and essential skills needed to be successful. We highlighted careers in these 5 key industry sectors: energy, manufacturing, healthcare, information technology, and logistics. Through this initiative, we not only learned that students were not fully prepared for career pathways available to them, but they also were lacking those necessary soft skills to be successful. So we produced a fun soft skills video web series addressing the do's and don'ts in the workplace. Also, out of this initiative, Workforce Wednesday was born. These meetings are hosted every third Wednesday of each month, and we are glad you all have joined us today. All the videos and registration for Workforce Wednesday are available on our website at education.mpbonline.org. And don't worry, I will add the website to the chat feature. Now it's time to start our program. Today we have special guests joining us to talk about the emerging food truck industry. Our program will feature 2 segment discussions that will be led by our moderator, Jermaine Flood. Our first segment will feature guest speakers who will outline the basic accreditation and certifications for operating a food truck business. Then we will be joined by local food truck owners who will share their personal stories of starting and operating their food truck businesses. At this time, I will introduce our guest speakers for today. We have Jeff Lee, Assistant Secretary of State of Business Services and Regulation. We have Christy Strickland, Director of Accreditation for Better Business Bureau, and Pat Fontaine, Executive Director for Mississippi Hospitality and Restaurant Association. Our next guest speakers to join, which are from our local food truck industry, we have John Beard, owner of Crooked Letter Kitchen, Brianna Jones and Taylor Pitchford, owners of Breeze Bangin' Burgers, and Destiny Turner, owner of Deep South Nutrition on Wheels. Now, I will turn it over to our moderator to begin our Food for Thought Emerging Food Truck Industry panel discussion.
Good morning to you all. I'm Jermaine Flood, moderator for this event. I would like to welcome you all to this Workforce Wednesday. Don't get your mouth too wet. We are going to be diving into this food truck industry right now. And I wanted to go ahead and introduce Mr. Jeff Lee to our discussion. Again, he's the Assistant Secretary for State for Business Services with the Mississippi Secretary of State's offices, and he's here to talk to us about an LLC. Now, an LLC, which is a limited liability company, is a business structure in the U.S. that protects its owners from personal responsibility for its debts and or liabilities. And Mr. Lee is in with us. He's going to give us more information about that. So I'm just going to hand him the floor right now, Mr. Lee. You have the floor.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks to MPB for inviting us, and greetings from Secretary Watson. We're all about small business here at the Mississippi Secretary of State's office, so I'm delighted that I can be here today, but also that you're all joining us. If you're here, you or people you represent are obviously interested in this great new industry, and so I'm a big fan of the food trucks. I work downtown Jackson, and we have them down here, and there are a lot of days, especially in the spring, when I can go out and really, enjoy the outdoors and get something to eat too. So I want to just jump right in. You see our website there, and that's very important. And on the website, you'll find also the business services homepage, will be kind of central to what we're talking about here today. But again, as Jermaine and Jasmine said, I'm Jeff Lee. I'm over the Business Services Division. And this is the division where you file to form companies and where you do required business filings. Next slide, please. So just 3 points for discussion today, because I want to make this as brief as possible, but let you know that I'm certainly going to stay here for questions, and I want to participate in that discussion and try to answer all the questions that I can today. Jermaine's already given us a pretty good working definition of an LLC. That's the first thing that we'll look at. The second thing we'll look at is the ease of forming an LLC here in our state. And then finally, should I or should you form an LLC? On to the next slide. So an LLC is a simple, easily formed business entity type. When I say business entity type, I think a touchstone for most of us would be something called a corporation. I think everybody would pretty much know what a corporation is. And so if we think of a corporation, an LLC is like that, but it's different. A limited liability company is owned by participants who are called members, as opposed to shareholders in a corporation. And as Jermaine said, what an LLC really does is allow members to limit their liability only to the assets or money that they put into the company versus their personal assets. And importantly, what an LLC offers to small business owners is much fewer requirements and less complexity than forming or operating a corporation. And that extends to what I'm going to call flexible governance. How you run the company is a lot less formal, and there's a lot fewer requirements there. Next slide. So when we talk about being less complex and flexible, we mentioned a corporation, again, kind of something that everybody would be familiar with, but they have pretty rigid structures. A corporation is required to have officers and directors and then identify the owners as shareholders. They're required to issue stock and set sort of a base value for that stock. Bylaws, kind of this governance of the company is required, and then shareholders have rights. LLCs, on the other hand, are required to have none of these things. Now, they usually have an operating agreement if there's more than one member or more than one owner. And that operating agreement you can think about in the same sense as bylaws for a corporation. Kind of tells, how you govern the company, how you divide the company if you reach a place where you're parting ways, how you sell the whole company, things of that nature. But they are not required. And that's very important if you're a single owner, right? If you don't have any partners, if it's just you and your business, then you don't need this complex operating agreement or bylaws or something of that nature when it really doesn't affect anybody but you. So you can have an LLC without having those things. They are much better suited to a single owner, which a lot of food trucks, I'm assuming, will be. Next slide. So let's talk about the ease of forming it in Mississippi. I'm going to talk briefly about an online filing account, and I'm going to show you a couple of slides from our website and how to navigate it. But this is not an exaggeration. You can literally form an LLC in Mississippi in less than 10 minutes. Mississippi has one of the easiest formation processes and one of the least expensive states in the country to operate and form a business like this. There is a one-time flat fee of $50. And that's it. When you pay online to form, that $50 fee is the only required fee you'll ever pay for a Mississippi LLC. There may be times that you decide voluntarily to file documents with us, and there will be fees for those documents. But once you form the company, there's only one required filing each year. That's called an annual report. And for Mississippi LLCs, that annual report filing is free. And at the end of this short presentation, I'm going to give you a local number for our call center. And it'll probably be the most important thing I give you today, because whether you're forming an LLC or filing required documents or have trouble with a username and password, whatever it is, if you'll call that number, we have people who, a live person will answer the phone, answer all your questions, and walk you through the process. Next slide. So I talked about the ease of forming it, but I also talked a little bit about how inexpensive it is here. I want you to look at this comparison to registering and operating an LLC for a 10-year period by state. As I mentioned, it's $50 one-time fee in Mississippi. Well, look at some of these other states. In Tennessee, that same 10-year period, a Tennessee LLC could cost $3,000. California is almost $7,500. So again, we're interested in small business. We're interested in giving small business all the advantages in Mississippi, and it's very inexpensive to get that liability shield here and operate your business as a registered business entity for a little bit of money. Next slide. So we're going to circulate this PowerPoint presentation to all the registrants today. But if you'll remember sos.ms.gov, that's our website. You can just Google Mississippi Secretary of State and get there. But on our homepage, if you see where the red arrow is pointing, that'll be the tab to get you to our business services homepage. Next slide. Once you click there, if you scroll down the page, you'll see 8 or 10 boxes right in the middle of the page. And one of these choices, a tab you can click on, says File Business Documents. Next slide. When you click that, it brings you to this page, which is where you would enter your username and password if you have one. And this is required. All filings with the Secretary of State are online filings or electronic filings. We don't accept paper filings anymore. So this is where you're going to do it. It's very convenient. If you've never set up username and password, when you get to this page, you're going to hit that register button. And there's a short registration process that takes less than 5 minutes. It verifies that you are who you say you are as you set up this account. It issues you a temporary password with instructions to set a permanent password. And then you can come right back to this page when you have that username and password. And on the left side of that box, you'll see the login button. Once you've entered your username and password, you hit login. Next slide. And that'll dump you right into all of our electronic forms. And where the arrow is pointing is the form that you would use to form your LLC. So if you're starting from scratch, this is where you would start. You click that tab that says Form a Mississippi Corporation, Nonprofit, LLC, etc. And the first thing you would see would be a drop-down menu where you choose the business entity type. When you choose limited liability company, you'll be on your way to that, as I said, less than 10-minute process to complete the filing, pay your fee online, and be in business in Mississippi. Next slide, please. If you could go one more slide, and I'll come back to this one. This is also found on our business services homepage. There's a tab that says Mississippi BOSS. A BOSS stands for Business One Stop Shop. And if you see where the arrow is pointing to that red bar, it's a button that you can click that says Start Your Business. If you've not been to this page, I encourage you to go there. And Jermaine, now I'm so sorry, but if you could back up one slide. What this is an interview-based resource. So when you click that little red button, this resource starts to ask you questions about your business, all right? And it really walks you through 5 major areas about the business. You know, location, are you going to have employees, and the nature of the industry you're in. For you guys, it would be, you know, food. But what it does is if you complete that little short process, it generates a to-do list based on the type of business that you're in. And then it gives you a checklist of people that you need to call or contact, whether that's federal, state, or local agencies, licensing board, health department. It's going to give you their contact information and exactly what you need to do. And again, that's part of Mississippi BOSS One Stop Shop. That's on our website too. All right, if you can go forward 2 slides now. Sorry about that. So finally, and again, I want to leave as many time for the other presenters, as much time for them as possible, and also for questions at the end. But, you know, should you have an LLC? Why would you create an LLC? Why would you make a registration with the state if it's not required? And really that comes down to liability. A properly organized and maintained LLC will provide you protection against liability lawsuits. And that's really the name of the game. You know, if someone gets, dare I say it, food poisoning, and they bring a suit against you, you want them to only be able to get to the assets of the company that you're running, not your personal assets. And we can talk much more about that. I think that's, you know, better in the question and answer session if you have questions about that. I think the next slide is the last slide. Again, here's our contact information. If you prefer a toll-free number, there's certainly one on our business services homepage, but our helpline is a lifeline for small business. And there's a lot of things. If you don't know who else to call, just call the Secretary of State. And I mean that when I say it. And we get a lot of calls that have nothing to do with what we do, but we're able to route people around to other agencies that can help them. So if you're having trouble with a business question, you're not sure who to call, I encourage you to call us. There's our email for customer service. If you prefer to get an email answer, we can do it that way. And then there are our social media things again. And as I close, once again, I'll say, we're going to just allow them to, you know, email this whole presentation out to you so you'll have these numbers. All right, thank you so much. That's it for me until you guys have some questions for me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lee. And I do happen to have some questions for you. When it comes down to those personal assets, did you want to go ahead and elaborate a little more how that relates to, I guess, advantages or disadvantages of them opening up an LLC versus a corporation?
Yeah, sure. So everyone has, I mean, let's say you have a savings account, a retirement account, you know, equity in your home over and above your homestead exemption. You own your vehicle outright. All those things are assets. A lot of people think, wow, that's a big Wall Street word. I don't think I have any assets. Well, yes, you do. We all have personal assets. And so what happens if you run your business as a what we legally call a sole proprietorship? That means you've started a business, but you've never set up any type of liability shield. Well, if you injure someone or do something that gives rise to a claim of liability, that person and their attorney can sue you for whatever money you have. On the other hand, if you've properly set up an LLC and you've conducted all your business through that LLC, you're not operating as an individual. You've become sort of this legal entity. Then when that lawsuit comes, they may or may not prevail in the lawsuit, but if they do, they're only going to get those assets that have become a part of your business. That may include your food truck. That may include your, you know, slicer or your freezer, but it won't include your car or your 401k or your retirement plan. Does that kind of help answer that?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Lee. Now, before we go into our next presenter, have you seen an increase of people applying for an LLC during the pandemic?
Yeah, that's a great question. So also let me say this, it triggers my memory that more than 90% of the businesses that are formed or registered, and when I say registered, that means out-of-state companies that are coming here to do business, either formed in Mississippi or coming from out of state to do business, more than 90% now are LLCs. It is by far the most popular business model. And again, it goes back to that flexibility in governance, the ease of setting them up and that kind of thing. But yes, in direct answer to your question, in 2019, we saw about 30,000 new businesses formed in Mississippi. In 2020, that number almost doubled. It was over 50,000. And then in 2021, we were over 60,000. If you look back prior from 2015 through 2019, it was steady about 30,000 businesses. But the pandemic certainly made people think about working from home or starting a business that might service, you know, or address some need during that pandemic. So we definitely saw a spike in the number of, you know, small businesses formed in Mississippi.
That's amazing. That's such a great number. And of course, here in Mississippi, at Mississippi Public Broadcasting, we are proud supporters of the state. So a small business in Mississippi is definitely the way to go, especially with that fee being so low versus other states. So Mr. Lee, thank you so much for that information. And he will be here, everyone, at the end if anybody has any questions as it relates to any of that information that he just gave us. But right now, I'd like to welcome to the conversation Mr. Pat Fontaine. Again, he's the executive director of the Mississippi Hospitality and Restaurant Association. He's here to talk to us about Servsafe. Now, Servsafe is a food and beverage safety training and certification program administered by the U.S. National Restaurant Association. And Mr. Fontaine has graciously blessed us with his presence here to give us some more information about that. So I just want to go ahead and just jump into some questions concerning Servsafe. So what is Servsafe beyond what I said, and what does it mean to a retail food establishment?
Well, I want to thank y'all for having me again today. Servsafe, as you mentioned, is a nationally accredited food safety manager program developed by the National Restaurant Association Education Foundation. Basically, what it does is it educates employees on food safety and food safety protocols. And once you have passed it, it serves as your certification. It is required by the Mississippi State Department of Health. Every permitted facility has to have one certified manager on duty at all times. And of course, the underlying purpose is that this manager gains knowledge about food safety and then brings that knowledge back to their operations to educate other employees about food safety protocols and to make certain that these protocols are being adhered to.
Is it mandatory for a food business to have a Servsafe certification?
Yes, if you are permitted by the Mississippi State Department of Health, you have to have a manager who is certified in food safety. And there, I'll go ahead and tell you, Servsafe is the predominant one, but there are other programs that offer a food safety management certification. They have to be ANSI certified.
Right. Right. Now, when I go out, of course, we see the ratings in the window or on the wall, A, B, or C. So what determines those grades?
Your adherence to the FDA food code.
Right. Right.
And
right.
so that it deals with cleaning, sanitation, deals with time and temperature of food items, a variety of your equipment, or your refrigerators and freezers at the proper temperatures, or your warming stations at proper temperatures. So they're looking at everything,
right,
even to the concentration of your sanitizer.
Now, I know in school, A, B, and C meant something. If you had an A, you were a stellar student. If you had a C, you're right there down the middle. So should a consumer think about those grades as it comes down to whether or not you're eating at a B, or C graded restaurant?
Well, certainly. And if you have a B, there's been an infraction. There's an opportunity to correct that and then get re-inspected. C, there is a critical violation in place, and if not corrected, they will be their permit will be revoked.
So there's nothing, you cannot go below a C. There's no D and there's no F like in school.
Nope.
Yes, you cannot go. So how long is a Servsafe certification valid?
It's good for 5 years.
Okay.
And they're actually the manager certifications. I believe there's only a couple of states that have additional requirements, but if you have a Servsafe certificate, you obtained it in another state, you come to Mississippi, it's valid.
Right. So does Servsafe have a system set up to keep these food establishments accountable during the years between certifications?
No, it's up to the individual restaurant owner to make certain that they have a manager that is certified and their certification is valid.
Okay. And are there certain steps that they have to take, one would have to take to get their food truck business registered or certified with Servsafe?
Well, it's not necessarily registering with Servsafe, but they have to obtain a food service permit from the Mississippi State Department of Health. And those requirements are no different than a brick and mortar restaurant. They want to make certain that they have a 3-compartment sink in which to wash, rinse, sanitize wares and utensils. They want to make certain they have access to a working bathroom with a hand washing sink. Also that there is a hand washing sink in the prep areas. Also proper disposal of trash, proper disposal of wastewater, proper disposal of grease. And so there are some mobile units that have all of these pieces of equipment self-contained. They have freshwater reservoirs. They have hot water heaters or chargers. They have wastewater reservoirs. So with 3-compartment sinks. So there are some mobile units that have every piece of equipment self-contained on them. However, most food trucks do not. And so what the health department likes to see is that there is a commissary kitchen that they have access to that has the equipment, like a 3-compartment sink, storage, proper refrigeration storage, freezer storage, ability to dispose of trash, a mop sink, proper grease disposal. So they like for you to have, in these commissary kitchens, you can sign an agreement. It can be an existing restaurant. It can actually be a convenience store that has this equipment available to you and they're allowing you to use. Even some church kitchens. It does not have to be a permitted facility. The facility just has to have the equipment and the features necessary. And so they like to see that. They do not allow for people to operate food trucks out of their home. You cannot operate out of your domestic kitchen. So it has to be outside of the home. And that's why they like to see commissary kitchens utilized when necessary.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fontaine. Now, everyone, if you'd like more information about Servsafe from what Mr. Fontaine has just given us, it is in the chat. There's more information that Jasmine has just posted in the chat. And Mr. Fontaine will be here at the end to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you again for joining us in this discussion.
Well, thank you, Jermaine.
Thank you. And up next, I want to introduce to the discussion Ms. Christy Strickland. Again, she's the Director of Accreditation for the Better Business Bureau. And the Better Business Bureau is a private nonprofit organization whose self-described mission is to focus on advancing marketplace trust, consisting of 106 independently incorporated local BBB organizations in the United States and Canada. And to give us more information about that, again, Ms. Christy Strickland is in with us during this conversation. Welcome to Workforce Wednesday, Ms. Strickland. You're on mute.
Did it work? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome to the conversation.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here today and share information. Right. Very happy. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you for joining us. Now, as it relates to the BBB, other than what I said, what exactly is the Better Business Bureau?
Well, right here in our physical location is Flowood, Mississippi. This is the location for BBB serving Mississippi. So yes, we are part of the larger organization, Better Business Bureau. And as you said, 106 locations. We cover the United States. So our location, we cover 76 counties of the state. We don't cover the 6 counties that border Memphis, Tate, Tippah, Tunica, and DeSoto, Marshall, who did I forget? Those counties are serviced by BBB Mid-South, which is Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
And so a lot of misconception when you say bureau is that we are part of government, city, county, state, but we are not. We are an actual nonprofit organization born out of advertising, actually. So, but we're all about education of businesses. And just because you're a business owner who we're speaking with today, you're still a consumer. And so Better Business Bureau provides information on businesses, and how to protect your business, consumers, tips. There's just an array of, services that we provide, all free, to the business and, business community and consumers.
Right. Now, I heard you talk about us being consumers and business owners being consumers as well. So how is that list of BBB businesses beneficial to those consumers?
Okay, so, you spoke of the pandemic. The way that consumers are now doing their homework, us too, as the, Secretary of State's office, seeing such an increase in, new businesses registering for an LLC, the inquiries to Better Business Bureau increased over 300%. So the inquiries are just because people are doing their homework. Businesses are kind of forced to do business differently. They have to have an online presence. They have to provide their information. So for any reason, if you are going to look for a service or you're going to use a business, for anything, we have 2,200 categories or types of services offered that the businesses are placed in their service area. So before this is kind of a motto of, is before you invest, investigate.
Mm-hmm. That's a good good rule of thumb.
Search, come to Better Business Bureau and search for the business, and or look for the tips that we provide. If we don't have the information on the business, that means that simply if you don't find it at Better Business Bureau, we don't have it. Businesses are not required to register their business information with Better Business Bureau, as in Secretary of State, Mr. Lee mentioned, we are as a state cheaper than everybody else. And there are a lot of sole proprietors and, business information that we don't have, like Secretary of State and other entities.
Right. Now, as it relates to business owners, and you spoke a little bit about, or you were getting into a little bit about that, what are the advantages of registering with the BBB for those business owners? So
inquiries, as I said, inquiries to Better Business Bureau, increased, people, whether they have more time, there's more competition, they're working. So it's important because, as in, the food truck industry, restaurants, that's a licensed industry. So what we know here at Better Business Bureau is, and I'm going to speak specifically to, food trucks. And I ran some numbers, so this is current to date. In the past 30 days, Better Business Bureau, Mississippi, has received 471 inquiries about food trucks in specific in the past 30 days. 30 days.
Wow.
30 days. If they're looking for restaurants, that was 482 in the past 30 days. So that gives you a glimpse of, anywhere from 16 to 20 people per day are coming to Better Business Bureau, and they're looking for trustworthy food trucks. That's why they're coming to see if we have the information and what information we have. So is it important that we have that information? I'm going to say yes, right? If they call us because we don't have the information, we tell them we don't have the information on the business. However, as mentioned many times, they are in a licensed industry. So when we recommend, we say we don't have the information, you still need to do some homework, go to the governing entity, which is the Mississippi Department of Health. We're happy to provide that contact information. We know they say, no, I don't know. That's why I called you.
Right.
That's why I called you. So they don't, they completely steer away just because consumers don't want to do any more homework than they're already doing.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for that. Now, when it comes down to those business owners, how can they register with the BBB?
Okay, a multitude of ways. Go online to bbb.org or just simply put in a search, BBB Mississippi. On our website, there is a form that you can complete with the business information. You have my contact information that will be provided. You can send me an email, you can pick up the phone, and we can simply take that information and there is we verify whether you're an LLC or a sole proprietor. We do have a lot of sole proprietors out there that are simply doing business out of their home and haven't registered with the Secretary of State. But any way that you contact me directly and we'll be happy to list the business.
Right. Thank you so much, Ms. Strickland, for that information. If any of you all would like any more information, that is now in the chat as it relates to what Ms. Strickland spoke about with the BBB. Thank you again. She will be here for any further questions during our Q&A segment. So right now, I want to turn it over to what everybody's waiting on. We want the food. Where's the food? So right now we have food truck owners that Jasmine had introduced in the beginning. Mr. John Beard is with us. He is actually, if you can see his video, he's actually live from his food truck right now. He's live on location. That is him literally cooking right there. Also, we have Miss Brianna Jones and Taylor Pitchford with Breeze Banging Burgers. And we also have Miss Destiny Turner with Deep South Nutrition on Wheels. They are all here. So I want to go ahead and get started. I don't know if Mr. Beard right now, I see him with utensils in his hand. So I don't know if he's available at the moment to talk for a second, but I want to go ahead and jump into Destiny with your business as it relates to Deep South Nutrition on Wheels. Tell us about it and what made you want to open up this food truck.
Hey, how are y'all? I'm Destiny. So I wanted to open this because I was tired of working a 8-to-5 job. Didn't ever hardly get to spend time with my kids. So now I have freedom to bring my kids with me if I want to. We have more time to travel. We love meeting new people. The furthest we've been so far is Pensacola. I plan on expanding that. So we don't just stay in Mississippi. We kind of travel everywhere. I love what I do. I love meeting new people. I want to give everyone a better, healthier option whenever, they are at festivals and stuff. They're happy to see us, to give that healthier option. Also sugar-free. There's a lot of people, since I've been doing this, there's a lot of people that cannot have sugars. So whenever they come up to my truck, they are so excited because our drinks are sugar-free. So that's mainly why I started, is just to be able to spend more time with my family and get to meet new people and kind of travel. but yeah, so that's why I got started.
Right. So that does speak to some of the advantages of you owning a business, especially when it gets to meet new people and traveling. So tell me now about maybe some of your registrations and certifications. Now, after you've received all of these registrations and certifications that we spoke about when it comes down to our guest in segment 1, what are the essentials to maybe getting the wheels going with a food truck after that?
So the first thing is getting where you want to set up. So right now we are just during the weekday, we travel between Florence and Richland. Each city requires a certain permit for you to get. I believe right now that what I've seen is they're about $250. They last a year. You have to get those for each city that you want to set up in. We plan on branching out some, but you have to get those licensed for each city. You also have to ask business owners if you can set up. I kind of did not do my research beforehand on that. So I would suggest doing your research and your homework before just jumping in and saying, oh, I want to go set up here. Well, you do have to have the business owner's permission before you can set up in those locations. Also, I would do a lot of research as to what food truck you want, what type of food truck you want. If you are getting a new one like we did, I was not expecting it to take 13 weeks to come in. So I would do a lot of homework before just jumping in and saying, you know, hey, I want to do it. There is a lot of other license and requirements that you have to have in order to set up in all of these different cities.
Right, right. Now, going off of that setup, if you're invited to set up at an event, what does that look like? What does that setup look like when you get there?
So I'm actually here today. I can come outside. Give me just 1 second. I can turn my camera around and let you guys look. We are set up today in Richland at a daycare. Let me see. I don't know. Let me see if I can get this office here. Done. Okay. So this is today. We're set up at Railroad Richland Daycare. Everyone can just come up and order. So this is what our setup looks like. When we travel to events and stuff like festivals and things like that, we don't have the truck. You just kind of go and set up. I'm sorry, this is really loud. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. That's what a food truck setup is.
Yeah, it can be super loud. But yeah, so that's our setup. Normally, if we are at like a festival or a fair, we don't have our vehicle attached. We kind of drop it and leave it. But obviously, if you have one that you drive, you can keep it. But yeah, so that's what our setup looks like.
Thank you so much for that little peek. Now, how can someone book your truck for an event or lunch date?
So any event, we have Facebook. We also have a website. My phone number is on there. You can call us. You can also message us on Facebook, and we'll be happy to help. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Destiny Turner. Again, that was Destiny Turner. She is the owner of Deep South Nutrition on Wheels, and we thank her so much for joining us during this conversation. And she's here as well if you have any questions at the end. So thank you again, Ms. Turner. Right now, I'd like to introduce to the conversation Miss Brianna I'm about to put both of y'all's names together. It's going to be Brianna and Taylor. That's going to be the first and last name. Miss Brianna Jones and Miss Taylor Pitchford. They are the owners of Breeze Bangin' Burgers. Welcome to the conversation.
How you doing?
Hey, how are you both doing today?
All right. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. But I want to go ahead and jump in. So what made you want to open up Breeze Bangin' Burgers and together at that?
You want to go? Okay. Well, we are best friends basically, and we met doing social work. We met at Child Protection Services. And basically at that job, it's such a hard job, just working with trauma, working with kids that was going through trauma. So we took it another step. We was working with children, and we started, we branched out to children in neighborhoods. We started feeding the children in our neighborhoods. We became roommates, and so we branched out to children in neighborhoods. We started cooking for them, and we just took a different approach. We liked it. We started cooking for them. They liked it. So when the kids start telling you that your food is good, then you got to believe the kids, because the kids, the kids don't they're not gonna lie to you about no food. So it became a passion. So we decided a year later in 2020, we decided to open up a food trailer together. So,
and it has been fun. It has been a ride, but we still get to do social work our way. Even though we're not doing it inside of a building, we meet so many people, and because of the kind of personalities that we have, we're able to engage them. It's not just a burger, it's a banging experience. I mean, the burger is banging now, but the whole experience is banging. And we get to, like I said, encounter so many people, just encourage them and inspire them, and give them good food. So
right. I was going to ask you what you like most about being a food truck owner, but I can already see that the encounter with people and just having fun is going to be the top thing. But is there anything else that you've found positive about owning a food truck?
So with being social workers, we know that life happens sometimes. And on the food truck, even though we thought it was going to be easier, life happens on there too. Every time we have an event, something maybe breaks, or something maybe didn't go according to plan, but you always have to be able to regroup, refocus, and do what you need to do. So it kind of keeps us on our toes, but we're always able to kind of just take what life throws at us. So
let's talk about No, you're fine. Let's talk about the challenges that are sometimes thrown at you. Can you talk about that coming from a food truck owner perspective?
Weather is a challenge. When it rains, people are less likely to kind of come visit your food trailer. It being a trailer is a lot smaller, so you don't keep a lot of bulks of items on there, because you don't want anything to go bad. So you have to kind of maintain a tight kind of schedule as to what you have, and make sure you're keeping your expiration dates and all that stuff up to par, because like I said, it's such a confined space that you have to make sure you hurry up and get product in and out. So
sometimes you have to worry about the vehicle that pulls the trailer. Sometimes it may not start that day, or it may break down that day. Life happens.
So.
Right.
In the event, you always have to plan. So we have a backup spot where we just hit the trailer anyway, and if the truck didn't crank, then we're still cooking, because it is a food trailer. So we go with the flow, and we make it happen.
Right. Now, you spoke a little bit about this. So how do you make sure at Brisbane Burgers that you all are being food safe?
Dates, labels. You got to have labels on everything, making sure that, you're paying attention to expiration dates, getting food from trusted sources, not getting any behind the table deals or anybody coming with the hookup, so to speak. You have to do things the right way. And as long as you're doing that and making sure that you're paying attention to times and temperatures and things of that nature, then you're in the game.
Right. Now, for both of you all, how can someone book Brisbane Burgers, the truck, now for an event or lunch date?
All right, so you can book us on Facebook via Messenger. My mom actually runs that, so she'll handle all of that for me. She is calling all day, hey, this person message. So definitely Facebook at Brisbane Burgers, Instagram at Brisbane Burgers, and also brisbaneburgers@gmail.com. And Perfect. Someone will get in contact with you, and we'll customize your event the way you want it to be.
Perfect. Well, I'd like to thank Brianna and Taylor, both of you, for joining us during this conversation. Again, this is Brianna Jones and Taylor Pitchford. They are the owners of Brisbane Burgers. More information about them is in the chat, and they will be here as well if you have any questions for them. So thank you so much for joining us during this conversation.
Thank you.
Now we're going to pull this one by ear. Mr. John Beard is literally, he's there. He's pointing to me, but he is on location live for the food truck. Mr. Beard, welcome to the conversation.
You got me?
Yeah, we got you, sir. We have got you.
Hi. How's everybody doing? Everybody all right?
We are doing good. Where are you at now on location?
We're down in Hertz Investment down in Jackson. So it's East Capitol Street, 210 East Capitol Street. We'll be here till 2 o'clock. And guys, they ain't stopping. They ain't letting up. So
I see it. I can.
they ain't letting up. But I have been listening, and thank everybody. You got one. I thank everybody for the time to come on this call. It's really kind of cool and humbling to see everybody taking time out of their day for such a very small and tight-knit community. So thank everybody for that.
Now, Mr. Beard, I already know you know about the community because you kind of helped rally that together. How do you maintain the focus on the food truck community when it deals with you and your partnerships?
Usually what we do is everybody kind of operates separately as their own separate entity. And, there's we can only handle so much. There's only so much that we can do with the demand. We're only able to handle a certain amount of people, in a certain location. There's only so many hours in a day. So usually what we do is a lot of times there's something that we can't handle. We make sure to pass it on to someone that we do deal with on a daily basis. And sometimes we don't deal with, we just pass it down, and to make sure that the customer, because they're the most important people out of this entire operation, is our customers. And as long as we're taking care of them, then that's the most important thing.
Right. Now I've been to the food truck his actual food truck Crooked Letter Kitchen, and he's right. They are totally always packed out. They are always going. It's a tight schedule. So tell me now, what determines your schedule when it comes down to where you go and how long you stay?
Availability. If you call and I've got it available and your date's flexible, a lot of times we push them. I mean, we book all the way. I mean, we've been very fortunate. It's not bragging by any means. It's, I think everybody has the same opportunity that we're afforded to. What we do is we just try to, we try to make sure that if they have a flexible date, we try to make it work within our schedules. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's just, it's all about, right place, the right time. And, we have minimums because it does cost a certain amount to roll a truck. COVID taught us that, the increase in food costs, it's not going up substantially what it is retail. Like if you go to Kroger or Walmart or something like that, you see more of it as a consumer. You see more of the increase than us as food truck owners that have distribution channels and stuff. We still get a cheaper rate, but it's not what it used to be. Nowhere near what it used to be. And that's if we can find it. I mean, guys, they got pork going on sale Friday at Ramey's for 99 cents a pound. I'm fixing to buy every pork butt they got, because it's, it's basically, the price now is, $1.69 a pound. Sometimes it's more. You got to catch sales.
Right. Now, I know this is not just a one-person operation when it comes down to Crooked Letter Kitchen. So how do you advertise? Do you have a team for this?
My wife. We do all of our social media platforms. I outsourced my website design, but pretty much from loading the truck to washing the dishes, you're looking at them right here. So that's pretty much the way it is. It takes an army, and I mean an army, customers included, supporters included, to run a successful food truck.
Right.
And we're still learning every single day. Hey, we learn it every day.
Right. Well, kudos to your wife for helping you do all of that. Now,
this is my wife.
Well, we can't see her. The video just went off. I seen her in the shot before it went. Hold on.
Is that it?
Hi, Miss Beard.
That's my wife. Wave to everybody.
Hi, Mrs. Beard.
She's saying hey.
Thank you so much for your help with Crooked Letter Kitchen. Now, how can someone book your truck for an event or lunch date?
You can go on my website, www.cok little minus sign, ms.com. And we've got a booking platform. You can call me, social media, Facebook, Instagram, all the, emails or anything like that.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Now, again, this is John Beard with Crooked Letter Kitchen. He is literally on site, on location. If you've never been, they brand their burgers, don't you, Mr. Beard? Y'all have a brand that y'all put on the bun, don't you?
Yes, ma'am. And the reason behind that is, every sauce we make, every flavor, we make our own seasonings. We do our own sauces. My wife makes all of our sauces. They were my recipes, and we always tweak them. But what we do is you're getting an experience, and what that means is the reason why we blend it is because that's specific to us. It's specific to the state of Mississippi. It's Crooked Letter Kitchen, so MI Crooked Letter, and that's just specific to our brand. And it's just that finishing touch that that everything's 10/10.
Right. Thank you so much. Again, this has been Mr. Beard with Crooked Letter Kitchen in with us for this conversation. So I thank him again for joining us today. Right now, I'd like to go ahead and pass this back over to Jasmine Harvey, and she will get us going for the rest of our presentation.
All right. I know we've enjoyed those presentations, enjoyed listening to our guests who joined us today. So I'm going to turn it to our education director, Dr. Wren, who is going to facilitate Q&A.
Wow. Well, I really enjoyed that. I'm hungry now, so I think we all should rush over to the food truck, wherever those guys are, and Brianna and Taylor, wherever you guys are, we need to rush over there. But that was very engaging and very informative. And for the sake of time, I have one question for each person, actually. I selected one, and I will say to our guests today, if you have additional questions, all of the contact information is in the chat. But I'm going to start with you, Ms. Strickland. Let me start with you. Can a sole proprietor, someone wanted to clarification, register with the BBB?
Yes. Even if you're a sole proprietor, if you are a business, you can register with Better Business Bureau.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mr. Fontaine, how does a manager get certified with Servsafe?
We actually, on our website, which is www.msra.org, we have a calendar of classes across the state. Within our organization, we have some approved and preferred Servsafe instructors and proctors. And so go to the calendar, you'll find dates and locations. Select the date and location that you're interested in. You click on that. It links you to the instructor's information that you will then contact to register for the class.
Great. Thank you. And one more I'm going to ask you, because I know folks like to know this. How often are those audits being done at restaurants? Maybe not audits. You mentioned inspections. How often are they being done? Yes.
Of course, the initial inspection when they're applying for a food service permit, and then annually thereafter.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Mr. Jeff Lee, someone wanted to know, if you go to that business website where they are filing for their LLC and they have questions, are there opportunities for one-on-one in-person consultations?
Well, yes. If you want to consult with one of my customer service reps, there's a lot of things that they're going to be knowledgeable on. Of course, at the Secretary of State, we can't give legal advice or tax advice. Many participants probably are familiar with the Mississippi Small Business Centers. This is part of the SBA, and they're certainly a partner of ours in a lot of ventures with new business. So if you need true business consultation, I strongly advise you to go, and I see Christy nodding her head as well, and probably Pat is familiar with SBDC too. Go look those guys up. I mean, That is federally funded agencies whose job is to help small business. So if you're not familiar with SBDC, you can find them through our website as well. You know, it's interesting. I looked up our 3 food trucks today. All 3 of those are Mississippi LLCs. And so if you're thinking about it today, you know, another thing I didn't think about was you're hauling a truck and a trailer around on our roads, and, you know, car accidents are just, they're just the life that we live in. Everybody's on a cell phone, everybody's texting when they shouldn't. So if you've not thought about liability from that perspective, it's certainly one to consider. But yeah, I looked up all 3 of these trucks and found them pretty quickly on our website that they're Mississippi LLCs.
That's great. And we were happy to hear from them today. Thank you all for that information. And as I said, for the sake of time, the information and contact information for each of you are is in our chat. So folks, go and look in the chat. I will say thank you to Mr. Jeff Lee with the Secretary of State office, who have offered us some information on decisions you need to make about creating an LLC and setting up your business. And he let us know that it's easy and inexpensive in Mississippi, $50 to set up an LLC, and 10 minutes to complete the application, and all that information he offered. And Mr. Pat Fontaine, thank you again for being with us with the Mississippi Hospitality and Restaurant Association, and sharing with us about how restaurants and food retailers are keeping our food safe through Servsafe. So thank you once again for that. Miss Christy Strickland with the Better Business Bureau told us all about how we are able to do our homework on her website on Mississippi businesses and check out those businesses before we invest. So we would like to thank the business owners as well for the great insight that they gave us. Brianna and Taylor with Breeze Banging Burgers, and Destiny Turner with Deep South Nutrition, and Cricket Letter Kitchen, Mr. John Beard and his wife and team there. So thank you all. We encourage you to go grab lunch from a food truck, and food trucks do hire, as we heard. They need folks to work there as well. Thank you very much. I'll turn it back over to Jazz. We're going to have a couple of announcements and some gifts.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Jermaine, if you're ready, we're going to do our door prizes.
I am. Okay, it's door prize time. You will receive one of these great door prizes. Of course, it's all about food. So we're giving you a lunch bag and a water bottle and a soup mug and a cutlery kit, and it's all MPB. So we wanted to make sure that you are ready for your lunch. So go ahead and spin that wheel, Jasmine. We'll find our first winner for the door prizes. Again, you must be present to win. Congratulations, Miss Diana Cooper, for winning our door prize number 1. At the end, you will be able to send your mailing address to an email, my email, I think that's going to be, and that will get your door prize to you as soon as possible. So we'll spin the wheel for door prize number 2. The wheel really likes that side, so congratulations to Miss Jacqueline Hughes. Again, you will have an opportunity at the end to write down my email and send me your mailing address to that. And then for our final door prize winner, it really did like that side. So congratulations to Miss Chandria Walker. She is the winner of door prize number 3. Again, you will send your mailing address to my email. I'll go ahead and say that before it gets up on the screen. That's going to be Jermaine, GERMAINE .flood FLOOD at mpbonline.org. There it is. Again, that's going to be send your mailing address to jermaine.flood at mpbonline.org, the way it's spelled there. And I will shoot that door prize out to you this afternoon. And we thank you all for joining us for this presentation. Up next is our announcements. Make sure you join us for our next Workforce Wednesday. That's going to be May 18th. The time 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Of course, we are going to have as much fun as we did today. So we would love for you all to join us during that Workforce Wednesday. And if you've missed any of these presentations, our Workforce Wednesday presentations, don't worry. They are all available on our website. That's going to be gettingtowork.mpbonline.org. And then make sure you check out our newsletter. If you haven't yet, our newsletter is available. This is kind of what it looks like on our mobile version of it. We are always keeping you all in the know about what we have going on here from MPB Education, from our own Dr. Tara Wren, Director of Education. And then to learn more about us, Getting to Work Mississippi, MPB Education, make sure you visit us on our website, education.mpbonline.org. On Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, we are out there on MPB Education. And make sure you connect with us. We thank you all for connecting today. Visit a food truck near you and make sure that you open up your LLC tomorrow. Now, thank you all so much for joining us during this Workforce Wednesday presentation. Everybody have a great afternoon.